Chic West Podcast is heart-opening dialogues for self-identified women on a Chic West, a movement moving forward, striving to live aware, bold, and whole. Welcome. Hi, Chic West. Welcome to Chic West Podcast Guest Series. I'm your host, Estelle Thompson. This next series of podcast shows is titled simply Radiant Heart. This month, we explore and dive deep in our physical and subtle energetic heart. How can we tend to our heart, vital and pranic health? How can we keep our hearts open so that it doesn't become corrosive and cold and shut and close? How can we access our hearts and develop a real intimate relationship with it? My hope is this, that through the podcast and our guests this month, you start tapping into the song of your heart and start seeing the necessity of listening to it. Also, to reflect just how your heart can hold it all, feelings of grief and joy together. And in the midst of it all, to still let your heart lead the way. Today, I'm so excited to have Trista Bloom-Sutton on the show. And Trista is a stay-at-home mom. She's a lover of travel, aspiring home decorator and creative. She's still trying to figure out what she wants to be when she grows up. I love that. She's a military spouse that recently relocated from Halifax, temporarily leaving behind her professional career with the Federal Courts Administration Services. Trista's yoga journey with me began over 2 years ago when she decided it was time to take charge of her body again after having 3 beautiful babies. But what she ended up taking from those yoga classes was so much more than she could have ever anticipated. She's attended many of my offerings, included, Chic West right now, but the summer schools as well. And most notably, the retreat in France last May, which was just so amazing, transformative, nourishing, and rejuvenating, to say the very least. After suffering personal tragedies, these classes and courses provided the tools to help her develop a grounding practice that has aided in easing anxiety and heal trauma. And Trista is speaking to us today live from Victoria, and her husband Chris and 2 sons, Hudson and Oliver, and her dogs as well. Trista, hi.
Hi, good morning or good afternoon, I guess I should say.
I know, we're coast to coast apart now. I'm just, on a personal level, I'm just so glad to have you on the show. I feel you've come just so far in a way, on your quest. It's such an honor to have you on. Just wanted to let you know that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you guys this morning.
And today, what makes you feel alive?
Well, and I've spoken about it before, I think on our Zoom calls, but every morning I get up and I take this gift of time. I take an hour to myself before the rest of the house wakes up. And I go downstairs and I grab my coffee and I turn on the fireplace and I sit and I will do 10 minutes of meditation and just try and prepare myself for the day. But in particular this morning, I was sitting downstairs and my boys were awake in their room and I could hear Chris go in and just kind of quieting them down a little bit. And I could hear him starting to sing a Nirvana song to them, which made me laugh out loud in the middle of my meditation. Anyway, so that made me very happy this morning when I heard that.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And I get that so much, just the morning chatter. I love that. There was a moment last week where I was watching the sunrise and I could just hear the little chatter going on in the bedroom and just this feeling of just gratitude. Yeah, I love that. And that you start bursting out loud in your meditation. That's awesome. Because your laughter is yoga too,
Oh, so much so. Yeah, I enjoyed that. It was good. Nice. Made me smile first thing.
Yeah, amazing. And before we dive deep in our subject, which is really because you've taken so many programs with me, most notably the Anatomy of the Yogi's Heart. But our theme this month at Chic West is Radiant Heart. And within that theme, and I know you have a beautiful grief story that we've talked about that you're going to share. Can you just tell us a little your story, like where you grew up and like where you got today? Your she story.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in a small town in the Annapolis Valley, a little farming community called Wilmot. My father was he was retired from the Air Force, and this is where they decided to settle. And while living there, you really embrace the beauty of being outdoors. He loved to farm. He had so many gardens that he loved to tend to. So I really learned so much, I feel, by growing up there and having those experiences. When I grew up, though, there are very few opportunities for work there. So I had to go and move to Halifax and to get a good job. And that's where I ended up meeting my husband, Chris. I was friends with his sister, so it was a bit of a fun story. And yeah, so he's in the Air Force as well, as you had mentioned in my bio there. I guess it's kind of ironic, I suppose, how that happens.
Yeah, your father and your husband ended up being in the Air Force. That's correct.
I guess I maybe I have a type. Something about a uniform. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, Chris and I, we've been married now for over 7 years, together for 12. It's been a pretty wild journey. I guess for the sake of our content for today, I'm going to dive kind of right into the heart of the story. So it's 7 years ago. It will be 7 years ago in May. I was pregnant with our first child. I was so excited. We were having a little girl, and I was, everything was going pretty well with the pregnancy. I was 6 months along, and I had to go in for a follow-up ultrasound appointment. I'd had one 2 weeks prior, but they couldn't get the measurement that they needed. She was just not turned the right way. And so I went in, into this very pink room for the ultrasound with a big Monet print on the wall. I remember that specifically. And the tech was doing the ultrasound, and she left the room, and she was gone for quite a while. And Chris and I were left there wondering, gosh, what's going on? What's taking so long? And she came back with the radiologist, and that's when they told us that they couldn't find a heartbeat. So that was, it was just time stopped, I think, for me in that moment. The things that I remember, it's funny, the things that you remember when you're in that moment. It's the little things. I remember kind of jumping off the table and just getting all of that ultrasound goo, just rushing to stop that moment, getting all the goo off my belly and just fixing myself up. And yeah, so it was, I can't even explain the moment. But after that, they send you up to another floor for another ultrasound just to make sure that they haven't missed something. It's a more in-depth ultrasound. And I just remember everybody being so kind. And I remember all of the doctors and their nurses' names that were helping me out that day. They were just so sweet and just trying so hard to make it easier on us as best they could. And here I was trying not to make them feel bad. I didn't want anyone else to feel bad. I was, trying to be strong for everyone else, which is something I find that we like to do. And I didn't want anyone's pity. The way we react is often, or the way I react anyway, is often not how I expect I would typically react in a situation like that. But they sent us home. They didn't want to go ahead with anything that day. So they sent us home. And I remember my mom was at our house that day too, and she was so excited to hear about the ultrasound. And I came through the door and just crumpled into a heap in her arms. And it was just such a heartbreaking time for everybody. So many hearts were broken that day. And we were home for 3 days. 3 days I was sitting at home with the knowledge that I'm carrying this, it's awful to say, but this little baby, and she's dead, she's gone, and I'm still very much pregnant. And it just, every time I looked at myself, you just get so sad. And people were coming to visit and people were sending flowers, and you're just sitting in your living room with all these beautiful flowers around and trying to be strong for everybody else, and just not really looking after yourself, just trying to look after everyone else. But I feel like that was just my way of coping at that point. So we finally after the third day came, my husband called the hospital and he's like, enough is enough. You have to get us in. We've been sitting at home just waiting for the phone to ring. And every time the phone rings, our hearts jump and we wonder if today is the day that this is going to happen. So we finally got into the hospital, and that's when, things progressed rather quickly. I think one of the things I found really frustrating about the process was that after everything was said and done, I don't believe a lot of people really understood what it was to be 6 months pregnant and lose a child like that. They didn't understand the process. And I guess if you never had the experience yourself or knew someone who did, really, why would you? So I wrote a poem about the experience to help people understand it, because I think that was one of my biggest frustrations. And when I started my journey, 2 years ago, which we'll dive into a little bit more later, but this is when I wrote this poem. So as I mentioned before, it's been 7 years now, but at the time when I wrote this, it was 5 years. 5 years ago today, I had been sitting at home for 3 days, waiting for a call to be admitted to the hospital. 5 years ago today, I was finally seated in a delivery room that had a purple card on the door, which told everyone that a baby was being born that wasn't going home. 5 years ago today, I tried to concentrate while a sympathetic nurse explained procedure and what to expect. 5 years ago today, I lay shaking in a labor and delivery bed, wearing a blue tank top, silver necklace, and the same pearl earrings that I wear every day. 5 years ago today, I told myself that I was happy for all of the mothers and fathers in the ward as I listened to all of their beautiful newborn babies cry. 5 years ago today, I coiled and cried in agony over the physical pain of labor, which would have no reward at the end. 5 years ago today, I was so thankful to have a husband that sat by my side and held my hand through hours of labor, despite the fact that my body had failed us both and took a life that we so desperately wanted. 5 years ago today, Mirren Rose was born, and I held her tiny and perfectly formed body close to mine. She looked so much like her father. 5 years later, I have been blessed with two wonderful boys that I believe to be walking miracles. 5 years later, I am thankful every day for their health and happiness. 5 years later, I will never forget 5 years ago today.
Full body shivers. Hey there, interrupting this incredibly heart opening conversation to let you know about my new art channel. If you are listening to this podcast as a SheQuest member, this feature is included in the membership sisterhood community. Yay! More than 21 days of mindful art classes and curated topics for each class, such as 21 days of birds and butterfly, 21 days of women in power, 21 days of love and loss, earth and sky, and so on. This year, I'm running a year-long 112 days of painting meditation where I will upload 9 paintings a month inspired by the Radiant Sutras. Together, inspired by mindful artists from all over the world, we paint 1,000-year-old yogic principles and enter a gateway of wonder and awe. If you aren't part of the membership and would like to try the art channel and meet its community, this option is now available. Use the coupon SHEART, that's SHEART, to get 1 month free and tell the women you know and love about this outstanding opportunity to develop a home art practice. SheQuest membership stores will open again soon, but until then, enjoy my art channel and say yes to creative living, yes to painting for joy, and yes to connection. Now back to our ever expanding and electrifying conversation. It must have been so cathartic to write.
It was just really nice to be able to share that, because when I talked to people afterwards, I don't know what they thought would happen if the baby just disappears, or I mean, they don't understand that you still have to go through. A lot of people didn't understand that you still had to go through the process, and that
Yeah.
every other mother has to go through when you're delivering a baby. And it was just really frustrating for me.
And that was 7 years ago. We're almost May now, so that's 7 years ago this year.
It is.
When do you think? Because you must have been in shock for a long time.
Yes, yeah. I mean, my way of dealing with it though was very much get back to normal.
Yeah.
So push it aside, push it down. I was entitled to 18 weeks of leave. I was still considered to be able to have maternity leave, but I took 2 weeks off of work, and then I went back. I didn't take the time to process things properly. I just I just wanted to forget it. I just wanted to move on, and I just didn't want to hurt. And maybe a shock of it is part of it too. Maybe it just was disbelief, and that could very well have also been part of the reason for dealing with it in the way that I did. But I think it was just.
And remember, Trista, that was for you. That was what you needed to survive, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think I was in a place at that time to be able to process it and deal with it as I was able to later on. I
Yeah.
wasn't ready.
Oh, wow. And when do you think you truly like kind of awakened to like the pain of losing your baby girl? When do you think that happened? Was there like a defining moment, or it was more like just day by day?
Well, for me, it was kind of crazy. I was forced into an awakening. Really, is what happened 2 years ago. We were traveling to Newfoundland for New Year's, which we often do, and we had a severely turbulent landing. We dropped from the sky twice, and my boys were on the flight with us, and I just remember seeing their little faces, and I thought we were going to die. And I thought my boys were going to die, and it triggered something in my amygdala, which I discovered later, and I started having these anxiety or like panic attacks. And I'm not an anxious person. I never have been up until that point. If someone had asked me, do you suffer from anxiety? Have you ever? I honestly could have said no, never. And it would happen when I was out having fun, if I'd had a glass of wine, or if I was out late and I would come home and I would get these full body shivers, and I couldn't concentrate on anything. And it would happen at night. And I would get up and I would try and go turn the TV on and try and focus on something else. And I couldn't. And TMI, I'd have to run to the bathroom several times. And it's like, what is this that is going on with me? So I had a referral to go see a psychiatrist, and she was wonderful. And she sat down with me and listened to my stories and was trying to get to figure out this puzzle of what was going on. And she came to this conclusion after our second meeting together, and it blew my mind. And she said, do you realize that all of this symptoms that you're talking about right now, that you're having the shaking, you had shaking, uncontrollable shaking when you were in the delivery room with Marin, and the not being able to concentrate, it was very much like that for you. And the elimination is a metaphor for perhaps labor and delivery. Like, what if this is.
Also, it's loss of control too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. And I was like, well, I guess, anything is possible. I at this point, I was just kind of happy to have some sort of an explanation or an idea of what it could be. I was grasping. It's like, this is not the way I wanted to live my life. This was not going to be my new normal. Oh my gosh, Estelle, I shit you not. I went home that night. I went to bed, and the wildest thing happened to me. I was lying in bed and I started having contractions. It was beautiful. Like, they weren't painful, but my stomach just started contracting. And I was like, okay, this is a sign. This is a sign that I'm ready. I need to move on. And it only happened once. That was the only time it ever happened. I'm like, okay, this is it. So from then on, I really embraced meditation, especially before bed at that point, to calm and relax. The journey, I mean, it was really wonderful timing. The She Quest, that was the first summer school you had. The journaling that summer was, I learned so much about myself, and that I'd never taken the time to stop and ask those questions before. It was a big learning process about myself. And
Oh, sorry. I'm just so almost like fascinated of like it's not even, I feel, a coincidence that somehow we were meant to meet each other, and like, almost like I attracted you in my life, you attracted me in your life, just because our stories are just so kind of like not the same at all, but like intertwined, in a way.
absolutely, yes, they
Yeah.
are.
And I hope you don't mind, but I might have shared this at the France retreat, but like I'll always remember that like there's these moments with some of you guys in Chic West that I remember, like these mini awakenings. Like we often talk about like Heather's story, in workshops, and you like coming to me like after class at the Cabe Hall and like basically like telling me your story and telling me you've had like terrible anxiety, and me telling you like, well, you're grieving, Trista. Like, like you're grieving your little girl, and you just standing there and being like, could this be really that? Like, it's been so long, it's been like 5 years. Like, how can this be? And it's like, no, like it's coming up now. Like, it's a good thing. I think I even told you that. I was like, no, it's a good
You
thing.
did,
Like,
yes, I remember that.
everything
I'm like, how is this a good thing?
because it's like, and I didn't know about the contraction, but that, to be transformed or to start a process of awakening, it's like a birth, and
Yeah,
so it's just so symbolic that you would have started having, contraction and being like, okay, I need to be birthed into my core truth. And it's hard, with grief and coming from personal experience where like you'll never let it go. This is something that's happened to you that you'll live with your whole life, and Meryl's with you your whole life, and that's comforting on one hand, and the other hand is almost haunting. And so how can you let go of that grip without, like, you'll never forget her,
no, and you never want to forget
No,
that
no.
experience.
And every grief is so complex. But anyways, to just go back, like I just remember that moment. It was such a beautiful moment for me to witness. Like, just you were just so, your eyes were just like so open wide, and you were just like, oh, is this could be happening? And it was almost like you knew, but I almost had to tell you so that it was like clearer for you.
Yes, well, I mean, you have a different insight into it than I do, and I like the way that you look at it too. As when those contractions for me, I was kind of looking at it as a closure. But you're right. Maybe perhaps it is more of an awakening than a
Well,
closure.
it's like something dies to be like birthed again.
Hmm.
I just, and how do you feel now? Like, I know you participated in the Chic West and very heavily involved, and then you had to move, but then you went to France before you moved to BC, didn't you?
Oh, I yes, I did. I was like, I need this. I am going to France.
Yes, and it was last May, and May is the month that Meryl was born, wasn't it?
Yeah, Marin was born May 27th, and we showed up. at the retreat on May 26th.
Oh my God. And we had this big theme where we called ourselves Sisterhood of the Roses. And our second name is Rose, isn't it?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so crazy. That was so crazy. When we were sat in that circle and
Yeah.
roses everywhere. It was meant to be. I mean, I completely believe in fate and that things happen for a reason, even though we don't always understand what those reasons are when they happen. But there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger story unfolding, and yeah, I will remember that in that circle forever.
So beautiful. And so let me ask you, like, if somebody that had lived through, so because like, women that listen to this podcast, like for sure, there's some, like it happens more than we know. And as you know, a big part of my mission, like not just with Chic West, but like just my work on, out in public, it's really about like grief activism and shedding a bit more light on, what happens, whether it be infant loss or prenatal loss of all kind. Like if somebody would come up to you and had lived through what you went through, is there anything you could tell them to be like, how can you start and engaging with what's in your heart, that grief that's in your heart? Is there anything you would tell them?
I think I would just, and it's easy to say now, years later, but sometimes you just have to sit with it and you have to be honest to yourself. Give yourself the time you need and the space you need to grieve. I mean, you're allowed to do that for yourself and for others. I mean, you're not the only one, and everybody does it in their own way. So yeah, just feel free to do whatever you need to do to get by, but just make sure that at some point you take the time to sit with it. You absolutely need to process what has happened. You can't push it down. It will come back.
And I love that there's a part of your story, Trista. Like, I love that you could have still decided to not look at your anxiety or not look at your nightmares or not look at your, like, the fact that your belly was all just having a time. Like, you could have chose still to not look at that, that you woke up with these signs. I think a lot of times our bodies give us signs, that be like, you need to look at this,
Very much so. I mean, that was a very clear sign. I mean, I didn't understand it at the time, and it took some help to figure it out. But once I did, I was like, oh, yes, this is what is happening. And now we just have to sit with it and figure out what this means for me.
And let's go into a bit more, because you've talked a lot about your daily kind of soul practice, but I know you love to wake up in the morning like earlier than the household, and that's like really worked for you. Journaling has really worked for you. And you saw, I'm not sure if you go to therapy anymore, but you did seek, to go to therapy, and that worked for you. Are there any other things like you do daily, Trista, that like really just helps kind of nourish?
Well, we did talk about journaling, and I know Heather she has a daily journaling practice, and I really admire that. I'm not that disciplined yet, but I do.
Me neither.
I think it's wonderful, but I'm not there. I do, though, one thing I love to do, and I started this after going to your yoga classes, and although I used to curse it when I started, and when I was driving to your classes, I'd be like, what's that? What's good today, Trista? What is good today? Come on, you've got to think of something. But it's I do that every night now. And if I am too tired to write it into my journal, I will pick 3 things and I'll just lay in bed and I will think back on the day and what were those 3 things that I'm grateful for today, and especially those days that everything went wrong or everything seemed to go wrong. Those are the days that I need to pick something. And there are always 3 good things, and more. That helps me a lot. And that is a big source of my happiness right now, just because life is chaotic. And sometimes you just need to change your mindset and look for the good instead of the bad. And I find that has been very helpful for me also.
Yeah, and it's a muscle, and I think I love that you said you used to dread it, because like I don't dread it as much, but I used to dread it too. And I think once we're not like just the muscle when we first start to do it, it's just weak, right? But once we do it like every day, it just gets just stronger, and the clearer the conduits like together, it's just so much easier now. There's like you like three things is like not enough, right?
And there, yeah,
Together.
some days it's not, but that's a good way of looking at it.
And I just want to mention to anyone listening to Trista and I are recording this. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Most of us are isolated in our homes with family members and our kids. So it's been like a really global crisis for, I mean, as an entire, it's a global thing. Just to revert back on what you were saying, if I don't journal like three things, what's good today, what I'm grateful for, what makes me feel alive, I've been doing it with my husband and my son, like just at dinner and be like, okay, guys, like what was good today? And it's something you can instill in your kids like so easily.
And I do that with the boys on occasion. My boys are 4 and 5, and so usually before they go to bed. And it's not all the time. And I've fallen off the wagon recently, to be honest, but I have done it, and they love it.
Yeah. We do it every day when we're on vacation. But then I was like, it needs to extend to when we're not on vacation because like we're grateful,
I'm
like
so grateful I'm on vacation right now.
I know like how easy it is to do this exercise with but I think we started doing that because it was on vacation. It's like you're together, when it's like daily life, you're not always together. But now because nobody goes to work, like, I mean, I work from home and whatnot, but Scott usually is at work from 9 to 5. It's been like, okay, like how can we bring more meaning into this situation that's really it's super crappy and it's so little and yet so powerful. I love that you said that. And so let's go ahead. And are there things like you do? I know you do yoga. Do you do yoga in BC in Victoria too?
Well, I was going to the Y here doing yoga, but of course, with
Yeah, yeah.
the pandemic, of course, nothing is open now. But it's great. I've actually started doing some yoga at home, and of course, I do some of your yoga through SheQuest as well.
Yeah.
But I've got Chris doing some yoga in the evenings now with me because it's a little bit easier to get motivated when there's two of you doing it. So yeah, that's been fun.
I'm super proud to have partnered with Hip Bee, a Canadian skincare company, and offering you 30% off all their products. I've been using Hip Bee Groovy Glow, Pore Hustler, and Jomo Mask, and I've completely fell in love with this not only natural clean, but sulfate-free, alcohol-free, and did I say Canadian product? Hip Bee's mission is to simplify your skincare routine and bring practical, effective solutions to your moody skin. Their belief is that feeling beautiful in your own skin is a right, not a privilege. Hip Bee is offering SheQuest podcast listener 30% off with the coupon SheQuest30. Go to www.hipbees, that's HIPBEES.com, and claim your 30% off any product in their shop today. That's SheQuest30, SheQuest 30. I'm really excited to bring this mindful and sustainable plant-based skincare in the SheQuest family. Enjoy glowing skin. Bye. You get a yoga date with your husband.
Yeah, it's something that we can do together. And yeah, so and my boys, I get them to do yoga. So yeah, so I do yoga and the gratitude, the meditation. Another thing, I mean, that I love to do, I have music on all the time. Just my boys will be like, "Oh, is this your calm music?" I'm like, "Yeah, mommy needs calm music right now." So this is what it is. And oils, I diffuse oils. Just I think that creating a space to just incorporate those things to your home should be a place that you're happy to be all the time. I feel, and it's those little things that make your soul happy. So yeah, those are some of the things that I do for myself. And getting out into nature when we can. We're very fortunate here in BC. There are so many places that you can go and paths and trails and beaches. And we're just really fortunate that we can still, even during the pandemic, we can actually still get out and social distance, of course, but we are still able to get out and enjoy those things together as a family.
I love that. So many tools there. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Trista, the last questions are rapid fire. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. So
do
ready for
you
this.
do you have a favorite mantra?
Be here now is my
Yay!
favorite one. And the first one that I went to at one of your first classes, it was the first one you had. And I was like, this is so poignant. It makes so much sense because we spend so much time looking forward or looking back.
Yeah, it's pretty like a basic, like I revert to that one like over and over again. So that's good. A favorite flower?
Wild roses are my favorite flower.
So many in France. Oh my God.
So many. But isn't it really so kind of crazy how they grow? And I spent a lot of time in Newfoundland when I was growing up, and even in Nova Scotia. Wild roses, they can grow anywhere on rocks and in the fog, and they thrive no matter what. And I find that's really beautiful.
Flowers are such great signs of resiliency, that's for sure. What about, and we can perhaps keep to the theme of our conversation, but maybe a favorite book that you've read about grief or loss or anything like that, or even just anxiety?
I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't read too many. I probably should have read more. Maybe in the beginning that would have been helpful. I haven't really read too much in the way of grief and loss. I'm reading a book at the moment, though. It's called Girl Wash Your Face, which by Rachel Hollis. And I'm sure, I mean, it's been out for a couple of years now. A lot of people have probably read it. It's actually kind of about limiting beliefs, which one of those things that we had talked about before. And I love it because she's honest. Like talks about all of it, and it's very relatable. There's something in there, I think, for everybody. And one other book that I really love that I have to mention is The Woman's Book of Courage by.
I love that one.
Yeah, there's so much to take from that too, and it's a small read, and if you don't have a lot of time, you can pick it up, read a couple of pages, and put it down, and come back to it later. There's also something in there for everyone. Sue Patton Fiol, I think.
I do love that you mentioned limiting beliefs because even like, it took you like 4 or 5 years to be like, to slash that limiting belief that you did not have time to sit down and process. That's a limiting belief, so I have that book as well. I've just skimmed it, but I should definitely like go and read it from the first page to the end. So Girl Wash Your Face. I love that.
Yeah.
How about a favorite podcast?
Well, I mean, of course, your podcast, Stell. It's wonderful. You have so many wonderful interviews on here. And of course, I think like a lot of other people too, Oprah's Super Soul Sunday she has so many inspiring people on there also. Just good stories. I mean, that's what I like to listen to.
Awesome. And a favorite treat?
I'm not a big sweets person, I suppose, but maybe I would pick a butter tart. I feel like that was the reason I gained a ton of weight when I was in my first year of university. Yes, the butter tart.
Eating butter tart?
For like every day for breakfast, I think. That's what happens when you first leave home.
I actually love cake so much, like in the morning with coffee. Oh, so good. So good.
That sounds wonderful.
So the last question, it's a loaded question, but I have a faith in you, and it just kind of wants to bring everything that we've talked about back into a conclusion. But knowing what you know about the power of grief and self-expression and the radiant heart, what do you wish women to know about its magic?
It has the power to be transformative if you allow it to be. It has changed me and who I am. The things that I appreciate and I don't take for granted. I look at life in a different way now. I would love to have my daughter with me, and I miss her terribly, but I have also learned so much in losing her and the things that I appreciate, like my boys, things that I just don't take for granted anymore that I have done in the past. And that's a blessing.
Yeah.
in disguise. It's a blessing in disguise, but there can be something positive that you take from your experience.
I get that so very much. It really just goes straight through me. Just I understand that so much. Where can we find you and how can we support you?
Well, I'm not. I guess I don't really have much going on at the moment. But if you want to follow my BC journeys, I'm on Instagram at Trista Bloom Sutton, and on Facebook as well. You can find me there. So yeah, I
And
just
Trista paints these amazing canvases now. Like you seriously like I love when your bio said like you're like an inspiring like decorator. I was like, can you do something in my house?
oh, I would love to send me in. I just have so much fun with picking colors, and I love designing and decorating homes so much. That's the best part of moving. It's the greatest.
Well, I'll take a little credit for your love of colors and whatnot.
You absolutely can. You can take some credit there.
Oh, Trista, such a delight to have you on the show. And thank you just so much for sharing your story so openly. And I think this conversation will help so many women, struggling with the loss of a baby. And it's an important conversation, important story. Thank you for giving it to us.
Well, thank you for having me. And I just like to say too, I mean, if there's anybody out there who, has their grief story, and if they need to talk or want to talk, or, want someone who understands, I'm available. We're here to help one another, and I'm here.
That's right. Beautiful invitation. Thank you so much. Have such a great day. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was produced by Tosh Taylor of the Podcast Hub Productions. Find her online at podcasthub.ca.